And good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Depends on where you are, I guess. Here in England land, it's afternoon, and it's warm for us. And my office is a bit of a heat trap. And my monitor colour registration's a bit off, so I'm hoping I don't look completely weird. Anyway, it's great to be here. It's time to look at project delivery. Well, it strikes me we've been kind of going through Pinbox 7's Pinbox 7's 8 project management domains, and we're now at delivery, which means I think we've only got 2 to go. Time has flown. So it's good to see a few of you already on the stream in the chat. So 2 kind of regulars, Patrick and Nicholas, from the US and from Canada respectively. And we've got a name I don't recognise, Fabrian. Can't wait. It's great to have you on the live stream, Fabrian. If I've forgotten you, my apologies, but please do tell us where you are and what your involvement is with project management. Oh, and we've also got Hambo Gumble, another regular on the stream, so it's great to have some old friends, and it'll be great to have some new faces as well. So if you are new to the stream and you're willing to, please do just say hello in the chat. It just kind of lets me know there's people out there, and it's a delight. Oh, we've also got Michael Finn dropped in to say hello. Hello, Michael. Michael's in Ireland, so that's great. So we've got a great show for you today. No kind of news. I've been really busy, so I haven't had a chance to check up on the news. I know we are at around about due for an announcement from the PMI with more details on the new CAPM exam. So I'll be looking that up. So those of you who are subscribe to my regular newsletter, you'll know that that's due on Thursday morning, midday my time. So that'll be kind of early morning for the Americans, north and south, and it'll be kind of midday-ish for the Europeans and Africans, and then kind of late in the day for the Asian colleagues. So that'll be coming out, and I will be researching what PMI has to say about its new CAPM exam. My guess is that we're going to see a big feature on Pinbox 7. Possibly Pinbox 6 will get relegated to a subsidiary place. We'll see, I suspect, for the first time, Agile and Hybrid featuring strongly in CAPM. So I think there'll be quite a big change. But nothing. Don't take those as gospel. But if you want to beat me to the punch, I'm sure that PMI will be saying something on its website. Oh, we've got a couple of new names. Tunde Ade, that's a name I recognise, so welcome back. What project template would you recommend for kickstarting a project? My one-page project definition template is what I use with clients to help them kickstart a project. It's a great workshop tool for thinking through all the basics of a project, but it's ideal, I would say, for the team getting together and pooling what they know and what they think, and figuring out where the gaps are. If it's a kickoff with users, then I'd probably do something around working from what would you like in terms of experience through to kind of crystallizing that as some sort of requirements. If I'm working in a kind of agile way, then we kind of stick that all in a backlog. If I were working in a more predictive mode, then I'd probably do some sort of Kiev analysis. And yes, I have moved from Moscow analysis to Kiev analysis. So Moscow, as you I'm sure know, must, should, could, won't. Kiev, if I can remember my own framework, is keep it for sure, and then if you possibly can, yes, if you possibly can, I for if it makes sense or something like that, and then V for very, very unlikely. So I my one public political stand. Anyone who knows me in real life knows I've got a lot of very strong political views, but my one public political stand is I do not stand with Russia. I stand with Ukraine on this particular issue, and therefore I prefer Kyiv analysis now. We've got Keen, whose name I now remember how to pronounce, and we've got the influential PMO, Stuart, in the hottest kitchen in the Chilterns. Yes, I think I'm in the hottest home office in Hampshire. No, probably not, but I do have a huge west-facing window which leaks heat in the winter because the wall behind me is north-facing, and in the summer it just soaks in the sun, and this place turns into a bit of a sauna. So anyway, Tunde says, would you like to share them with me? Yep, I will. I think the best thing I can suggest on that, two ways you can access that. The standard one with the kind of training module is, let me just grab the link you want, is as part of my project management fundamentals course, which is a free course. It's freely available on YouTube, either as a one and done 40-minute course, or as 4 20-ish minute courses with promotions in between. But the best place to go for it, to see it all and to be able to easily download the resources, is in my free Academy of Project Management on the website. So let me just grab the thing, get my mouse to cross from one screen to the other. That's still not reliable on my system. So I'll post a link coming now, Tunde. If you go there, that is the Project Management Fundamentals course. Go to the Define Your Project module. If you don't need to watch it, that's fine, but you can download the project definition template from there. What else have we got? Fabrian, what method is similar to EVM? EVM, Earned Value Management, Earned Value Analysis, as I grew up calling it. When I say grew up, I didn't know what Earned Value Management was in my childhood, but I learned it as Earned Value Analysis. What method is similar to it? That sounds like a pub quiz question. What method is similar to Earned Value Management? I don't know. I can't think of a method. I mean, some people confuse Earned Value Management and discounted cash flows. They're nothing like each other. It's different purposes and different approaches to life, but they both have a 3-letter acronym, and we use both of them in project management. But I don't know what you're getting at, Fabio. Is that a quiz question for me to test my knowledge, or have you heard of something and you're trying to remember it, in which case I can't help you? If you can say more, I will try harder. And if anyone in the chat or anyone on the call, is prepared to join the chat, if you have an inkling what Fabrian is asking about, and help sort that out, we'll try and help you on that one. But don't know at the moment. Anyway. We've got a good show for you. We're past the past the dreaded project work domain, which I really don't like. Talking about by the way, if you're enjoying this stream, do give us a thumbs up, give a like. It helps the channel. The one thing you can do to really help me and help promote my channel and help in a small way pay for the stuff I do for free like this, is to interact with the channel, and the best ways that you can do that are by liking my content. Best still, subscribe to the channel. I'm sure most of you are already, and hit the notification bell. Be aware that the notification bell comes up white or black depending on whether you select all, which is black, or partial, and then YouTube tries to figure out which of my content you'll like. I think it defaults to the white bell, so go and change it to a black bell. But the best thing you can do is put comments on videos. So do give this a like if you like it. If you haven't made up your mind yet, that's fair enough. We haven't really got started. I haven't given you any real value yet, except maybe for Tunde, and certainly not to Fabrian, I'm afraid. So yeah, do tell me more about what you're after, and I'll try and figure out how I can help. But yeah, do give a like. Anyway, what I was going to say, yes, didn't like project work, but do like the project delivery domain. Although I don't like the name of it. I'm coming around to it. When I wrote the article and wrote the ebook, which is now out, I'll say some more about that in a bit. I was really dead set against. I think that the name doesn't really well represent what's in there. I'm coming around to it slowly, actually. But I think when I think what does delivery mean, I think about the delivery process, and therefore I think about how do you deliver. This delivery domain, like a lot of the Pinbox 7, is about principles and it's about the what, not the how. But it does leave a lot of questions open. But I do think the content of it, if I evaluate it on its own terms, which is how I have evaluated it, I think it is good. I think it's a solid 4 out of 5. In places, a 5 out of 5. In places, possibly a 3. But so we're going to look at that. So let me get my mouse to work. Come on, where are you? Come on, I haven't got that much screen real estate. So what my mouse does is it seems to go missing when I try to transition from one screen to another. Anyway, there we go. So we're going to talk about I suppose I shouldn't keep my slides on a different screen. That's the thing. Oh, Hambo. I'd hazard a guess that agile estimates would be a rough comparison to EVM in my head. Happy to be proven wrong. See, earned value management, yeah, I suppose it's about estimating, but I think of earned value management as the management part, the analysis of where we are based on your estimates and your real. Funnily enough, I'm editing a video today on estimate at completion and why we've got so many different formulas for it, which we haven't really. We've actually got lots of formulas for estimate to complete. And basically that depends on why you are where you are. But yeah, that wouldn't have occurred to me, Hambo, so it's a good thought. But I guess only Fabian can possibly know what Fabian is most interested in. So we'll have to wait till we get a response. I think Fabian is. I should use they, shouldn't I? We're now in a world where everyone is a they. So Fabian, tell us what you're thinking of, and we'll try and help. Anyway, where are we? Let's click into this. And so PMI's definition of the I put deliver domain instead of delivery domain. It's not the only time I've made that typing mistake. So it's about the activities and functions associated with delivering the value that the project was undertaken to achieve. That's my actual wording of it. I think really the PMI talks about the scope and the quality that the project was undertaken to achieve. But frankly, I think talking in terms of scope and quality is old-fashioned. It's old speak. Yes, of course we want to deliver the scope. Yes, of course we want to deliver the quality. And yes, as a British project manager, I am delighted to see scope and quality on equal footing, so that we can do away with the iron triangle of time, cost, and scope, and the time, cost, quality triangle of time, cost, and quality, and we can have that unified quadruple constraint, the four sides of the triple constraint. But you know what? Why do we care about scope? Why do we care about quality? It's because we believe that if we get the scope and the quality right, we will deliver the right value, or at least we'll deliver the right benefits. If we get the cost right as well, we'll deliver the right value. So I prefer my definition: the activities and functions associated with delivering the value the project was undertaken to deliver. As I say, it talks in terms of what, not how, and it's about realizing outcomes and benefits. And it includes ideas of requirements, value, and there's a good section on value. There's an excellent section on deliverables. There's an almost excellent section on quality, and there's an interesting section on disappointments, which is a bit of a disappointment, but it's not, because I wasn't expecting it. I wouldn't have expected it, and therefore it's a delight to see it there. I just would like to see them expand a bit on it, because it could be so much more, having thought of it. So I welcome it. Okay, see you, Michael. So there we are. This is my working definition, which is very similar to PMI's, but just has value in there. Delivery performance domain addresses the activities and functions associated with delivering the value that the project was undertaken to achieve. You know what? It's just occurred to me. It didn't occur to me when I wrote the article, didn't occur to me when I reviewed the thing carefully. Was undertaken to achieve? You should be delivering value throughout the life of the project. So is undertaken to achieve, is being delivered to, I don't know. I could get into all sorts of linguistic hoops, so let's not. So, as you know, the Monday before the first Tuesday of the month is when I publish an article about the domain. So that came out yesterday. Then the first Tuesday of the month, today, we're talking about the domain and Livestream. And you can see inset into the thumbnail for the article is a picture of the eBook, which is now available to you to buy in Kindle format on Amazon in any domain. Let me just grab. Yeah, that's a good question. Where did I put it? Let me just grab the URL so you can buy that from Amazon, should you wish to. Obviously, it's not mandatory. And I'll emphasize again, there is nothing in this ebook apart from the kind of introduction and a few odd words here and there that isn't on the website for free. It just collates a load of good stuff. So let's put project delivery ebook. There we go. So you can grab that. It looks, yep, that looks right. So that's up there waiting for you. I think it's slightly odd. I think it's going to confuse you. The timing means that the live chat has less of a lag than the audio and visual, which means that you see the live chat before I say I posted it, which is bizarre. We are all time travelers. Let me just close a window to get it out of the way. So, back to the performance domain. Come on, mouse. Here we go. I don't think I'm ready to talk about that. So, what's in the performance domain? Well, PMI lists 5 outcomes from the performance domain and then doesn't really talk about them very much, which I think is a bit disappointing. But it talks about projects contributing to business objectives and strategy. Great. Projects realising their outcomes. Great. Project benefits are realised and within the right time frame. Fantastic. Great plug for benefits management and my benefits management course, which I'll be plugging later. Team has clear understanding of requirements. Interesting, because they never really come back to that at all, but certainly very important and linked very much to Tunde's point, I guess. So that's great. And stakeholders accept your deliverables. When I do, at the end of the session, my 3 best tips, 2 best tools and 1 best insight, I'm going to have something to say about stakeholder accepting deliverables, because I think they kind of... I think it's important that stakeholders accept the deliverables, they value them, they engage with them properly, but how you get them to do that is what's really important to know about and to understand. So I've got something quite thought-provoking for you on that. So hold on, hang in and hold on. That's right. So what are the main sections that PMI offers us to talk about this? It offers us... actually, I don't need this graphic up. You can look at my ugly mug. So PMI offers us 4 substantive sections within this big section, this domain, and I have to say I think that's one of the smallest selections. It offers us a section on value, which I think is good, a section on deliverables, which I think is very good, a section on quality, which is very good in parts and good throughout, and this suboptimal outcomes bit, which I really like. I really like that it's there, and I would really like to see more thinking on that. I think that's really good. And the deliverables bit talks about requirements, which is nice. It kind of, and this is... this is where the domains, I think, domains idea works nicely, because of course the domains idea can span the life cycle of a project. It can span different styles of project. You can talk about requirements without talking about how you do requirements gathering, but it talks about scope definition as well. So we figure out what the requirements are, then we define scope. Except, of course, in Agile, we don't often define scope. We just kind of stick all the requirements in a big bucket, call it a backlog, and then we draw down scope elements as we go. And then it has this marvelous concept, which was completely new to me. It might not have been completely new to you. I accept that. But this idea of done drift. Of course, we all know what scope creep is, but done drift was new to me. And I'm not going to tell you what it is now, if you don't know, because it is my best insight. My best insight is this idea of done drift. You won't hear it described and think, gosh, I never knew that happened, or that's never an issue on my project, so I've never noticed it. But having a name for it is really important. Naming things means we can start to kind of think carefully about addressing the issue. I truly believe if we didn't have a name for scope creep, we wouldn't have a whole body of tools and techniques for managing scope creep. So having done drift as a name means I'm going to be probably putting together an article about dealing with done drift, because I have an article about dealing with scope creep, so why wouldn't I have an article about dealing with done drift? And in the same way, in fact, actually, I'm just writing a note down. I think the first thing I'm going to do is add to my backlog of videos a video called What is Done Drift, in which, as you might expect, I will explain it in the way PMI does, and then explain it in the way that I see it as well, from my experience. So anyway, I'll come back to that. So that's nice. So the deliverables section is really good. It's got lots of great stuff on deliverables and moving targets and things like that. Then the quality section, I think, is great, because I think, although it's much, much smaller than a whole knowledge area in Pinbox 6 on quality, it's very, very to the point. It doesn't tell you anything about how to do it, but it really does ramp up the importance of quality and why we should engage with it. And that's something many of you know that is important to me. So it has 4 little kind of subsections or subsections, depends on how you label them. There's preservation of quality, or prevention of quality failures. I can't read my writing. So that's what I think of as quality design. Actually designing in the right quality standards to match the requirements of the organisation, because, and I've said this before, it's just as much a mistake to over design as it is to under design. To over deliver quality is to under deliver quality, because if you deliver a level of quality that is not needed, not appropriate, then your customer is going to have to pay for something it didn't want. It's kind of why trade paperbacks exist. These books are not printed in hardcover because nobody wants them in hardcover. They're not a beautiful thing to be valued and cherished and used again and again and again. So they come out in trade paperbacks with decent quality paper and good binding, because that's how they're most useful. But then, take a dictionary that is going to be used again and again. You have to think very carefully about the quality which will make it last and feel like an object that justifies the cost of buying it, because of course most of the cost of buying it is generated by the cost of compiling a huge great dictionary. So quality is a really important topic. So there's quality design, then there's quality assurance, which is about making sure you deliver to the design. We've got some questions. Let's see what we've got here. So Fabrian says, what methods can be compared with EVM so I can write SWOT analysis for each method? Okay. So then Gumbo, is it an acronym? Yes. SWOT, yes. So Nicholas, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Good. So we're there. SWOT analysis. I have a video on the channel, what is a SWOT analysis. So go have a look at that, Hambo. Would this video be available later, says Tunde? Yes. As soon as the live stream ends, YouTube does some clever stuff to store it away. Okay, it does some clever stuff to store it away, and it is available. Usually there's a kind of little lag of a minute, maybe an hour or two, when you can't access it properly. And there is certainly a period of time where you can't download it if you subscribe to the premium YouTube service, which allows you to download stuff onto your devices. But yeah, it will be available for as long as YouTube's around, frankly. So you can come back and watch the rest of it. In relation to Mike's drift content, a done drift. You're going to have to wait, Humbo. I'm going to explain it, but yeah. Done drift is not an acronym. Done drift is a drift in the definition of done. There you are. I've got it. I've given it away. But I'll say some more about it. So we've still got Fabian's question, which they've clarified. What method can be compared with EVM? So, okay. If I were... Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So you want things that have largely the same purpose, otherwise SWOT doesn't make sense. So if I said discounted cash flow, you could compare it. They have very different strengths and weaknesses, but you can only compare them in the domain of what they're designed for. So discounted cash flow, designed for evaluating an opportunity, earned value management, designed for tracking progress. So burn down chart would be an obvious example, because a burn down chart in some ways is a simplified application of the same principle. So in Agile, burn down charts are used, and they are, I suppose, directly comparable as a way of measuring progress against a plan. I'm going to cheat, actually, because there's some very smart people done some good stuff on them in the measurement. I like the measurement domain very much indeed. In fact, I think it's the best domain. So let's see what tools they have in here. So I'm going to crib. I'm not going to try and do this off the top of my head. So we have earned value analysis stuff here. Resources. So there's the earned value analysis chart. Don't take a screenshot, because that would be a breach of copyright. Then what other tools do they have? They have business value tools, where they talk about cost-benefit ratio, net present value, which comes from discounted cash flows, return on investment, and plan benefits delivery compared to actual benefits delivery, which actually measuring plan benefits against actual is directly comparable to EVM and is not actually a measure of... So, but how do you measure plan benefits delivery against actual benefits delivery? I would say EVM is an approach to doing that. So... So we've got EVM, information radiators. So yeah, so burn down charts and burn up charts, which are the same thing, sort of, kind of shows, I think, pretty much the same sort of information. So burn down charts and burn up charts answer part of your question, Fabian, and I suppose you can think of a Kanban board as a way of measuring progress against a plan, but it doesn't really deal with anything quantitatively. So, well, there's your SWOT analysis for you. So I would definitely go for burn down charts and burn up charts. Now the other bit to look in is MMA, models, methods, and artifacts. Does it have anything in here? Models and methods. I suppose it would be a method rather than a model, wouldn't it? If they have the same understanding of those two words as I do. So what methods does Pinbox 7 give us? It gives us data analysis, data gathering and analysis. Methods, check sheets, cost quantity decision trees, no, forecasts, influenced. Loads of good stuff in here, but I'm not seeing anything that is an alternative to EVM yet. estimating meetings and events. You know what? I think Fabian has hit upon something interesting. I think what Fabian has hit upon is that there is very little by way of alternatives to earned value management or earned value analysis. Burn up, burn down charts, yes, a simplification in many ways of the principle, but I'm not aware of anything else. Can't find anything else in Pinbox 7. Would be fairly sure if I got my Meredith and Mantell out, I would probably not. I've got the 7th edition, which is still a bit old, but it's much newer than my other edition. But I doubt there's anything in here because I have read this through a couple of times over years. So not sure. I think you've spotted something interesting, Fabian. So the only answer I can give you is burn down, burn up. But I would use burn down. I would look at a burn down chart. Oh, actually, no, a burn up chart goes in the same direction. So probably that would be the one to look at. Okay, anything else? So I'm not sure that's Iadan or Ladan with a lowercase l. Does Delivery Manager job follow the same tools and techniques of this domain, or it holds a different responsibility? So that's interesting. So there, I think I'm going to make the assumption that they've capitalized their name or tag, so I'm going to call it Iadan or Iadan. So a delivery manager is responsible for delivery. So the knowledge that the delivery manager needs is largely focused, if we're talking about a project manager in delivery mode, is largely focused on the delivery stage processes, and therefore the knowledge areas of the old Pinbot guide cut across horizontally by the delivery stage. So there, yes, this domain contains a lot of the principles and ideas that the delivery manager needs to understand, especially when we consider that I think in the modern world a delivery manager also has to be a benefits manager and a benefits realization manager. That said, the big gap I'm going to argue for in this domain is that actually there's no real discussion of benefits management at all. There's a discussion of the importance of value and a recognition that value is a function of benefit and of cost, but the big gap is benefits management. So yeah, I think there's a big overlap, but it's not the same thing. Or at least this domain is not sufficient knowledge. It is required but not sufficient knowledge for a delivery manager, I would say. That's my answer to you. And please do clarify how to pronounce your tag or name if you wish. It worked with Keen. It stuck eventually. Once he pointed out it's an Irish name, not it's an Italian name. Anyway, yeah. So quality. I was talking about quality, wasn't I? So quality design and quality assurance are how we make sure that we deliver the right quality. Quality control is how we make sure that what we have delivered was the last check on whether what we've delivered meets the quality. Then, rather nicely, Pinbox 7 talks about what some of the considerations are if failures and errors are discovered internally, and also if failures and errors are discovered externally after delivery. So we're talking about internally, which is kind of like alpha test, or a confidential beta test in the software industry, and then external failures are post-delivery. So the software is live and in use and in production, as the software engineers say, or whatever you've produced, the process or the asset is actually out there in the wild. And so I think that's really nice, because I don't believe that internal failure, external failure discussion, or those internal failure, external failure discussions were in earlier editions of Pinbox. I think it's a great addition. However, it's in the world of quality and failings that I have a bit of a bone to pick with you, PMI. So let's go back to the slides and find my mouse again. There we go. So in terms of cost of quality and cost of change, PMI in Pinbox 7 present a chart which looks very, 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 very much like this. So they have taken the classic Bohm's cost of change curve, very much as it's presented in the literature, and reproduced it very much as I've done here. So what they basically said is that as you go through the life cycle of a project, and Bohm used a software engineering life cycle of requirements, design, build, test, production, the proportionate cost of change grows exponentially. I mean, I'm not sure whether that's an exponential curve. I can't. It's years since I actually studied this. Was forced to look at this. I don't know whether it's. I suspect Bohm didn't have any sufficient statistical data to infer whether it's an exponential curve or parabolic or cubic or all the other potential curves that it could be. But it's an upward turning curve. It accelerates, and that kind of makes a lot of sense, because fixing the very top end of the curve, fixing something that's in production is monumentally expensive, and there are probably reparations to be made. When you're figuring out designs, there's not a lot of cost to making changes. While you're designing it, yes, if you've designed something that you need to change, you need to go back and redesign it. But at least you haven't committed any materials to it, you haven't committed any time to building it. And so you get this logical curve, and that's great. But two things you have to say about Bohm's cost of change curve. And remember, look at that date, 1984. So Bohm was working in a world of software engineering. And in fact, the article was called, or the book, I can't remember, was called Software Engineering Economics. It's about software. This doesn't apply to bridges, it doesn't apply to business processes, it doesn't apply to organizational change, and all the other different types of projects that people in my community deliver and that I've delivered, because I have delivered software engineering projects, but I'm not a software engineer, and so I was kind of oblivious to some of that stuff. So it's a software engineering project. And look at the date, it's 1984. Look at the stages. This is classic waterfall. And you know what? Nobody ever believed that waterfall was right for software. It was a best fix at the time. The Agilists now say waterfall is a problem because it's rubbish. It is rubbish for software. It's not the right way of developing software. It never was. That doesn't mean that predictive project management isn't right for other things. Okay? So the implication in Pinbox 7 is that this cost of change curve is universal. I believe it is not. It is not appropriate to non-software engineering because Bohm never intended it to be. And critically, nobody ever does software engineering these days using that paradigm of a waterfall-like, predictive-like structure. What they do is they use Agile. So that gives us two very different curves. A predictive business project has a cost of defects curve, which is actually, it rises very fast and then starts to slow down and stabilize as you get close. That is how predictive projects tend to work. That is the cost of change. Now, cost of failure is very different. If we go back, yes, if we rephrase that, and Bohm didn't call this a cost of failure curve, he called it a cost of change curve. But if you ask about cost of failure, then pretty much every project looks like this. But cost of change, no, because you don't. The whole thing about predictive is when you get to the end, you don't change it. You start a new project if you need to do something different. And of course, an agile project is the response to this. this is nonsense. Nobody would take this on willingly. So what do? We do agile software development, and we turn that curve into a series of little rising curves, which then come back down again in the next iteration. And I've no idea what the actual precise shape of the agile software project cost of change curve would be, but it will be some sort of a periodic curve. It might be much more sawtooth-like and asymmetric than that. It probably would be, but in terms of principles, if you are working from PMBOK 7, two things. Firstly, if you are being examined by PMI with PMBOK 7 as a reference guide, then suck up the fact that the Bohm chart is not relevant, because you are tested on their content and their interpretation. But if you're in the real world, be aware that I just don't think that Bohm curve applies to much, or if anything, of what we do as a cost of change curve. But as a cost of failure curve, absolutely darn tootin' right it is. And that's why it's quite interesting that they do talk about cost of failure. And internal and external failures. Then they move over to cost of change and present the Bohm curve. So I think someone my guess is one or two people on the group were aware of the Bohm curve. They said, "Oh, this is really interesting stuff. We should have this. It's a great principle for people to understand." The others weren't aware of it, but said, "Yeah, that looks good. Let's pop it in." And nobody looked critically at whether actually it makes sense in the modern world. Sorry, PMI. That's just how my reading of it. If anyone is familiar with the Bohm curve and has an opinion on that, I'd be glad to hear it. Even if it does mean I have to update the eBook, because I think this is worth understanding and worth debating. Now, the next thing. So the performance domain talks about value, quite rightly so. There's a great discussion of value. Let's say verging on excellent, but not quite there, I would say. But it talks, if I've got the right section, 2.725 business value. There's some it's lightweight, but it's good. I'm in the wrong section. I'm in the measurement section. There we go. So it's got these four very small paragraphs. I think the longest paragraph has 6 lines, and the shortest one has 3. So there's not a lot here, but what it says is good, and it talks about releasing deliverables through the life cycle to deliver value, which some people think is what Agile is all about. It's not. That's what predictive is all about as well. We still release stuff through the life cycle, and it says projects that deliver the bulk of their deliverables at the end of the project life cycle generate value after the initial deployment, which is what it leaves unsaid is therefore there's a massive great risk, which is why we try to avoid doing it. Business value, again, goes on to say, continues to be captured long after the initial project has ended. Absolutely right. And so we need to be thinking about the product and program life cycles as the time during which we measure value. Talks about business case and business justification, and different tools that you can use for different environments, which is good. And then it talks about setting up desired outcomes and periodic measurement. This brings us, of course, back to value management and benefits management. By the way, so Fabian, I do have a benefits management process, benefits realization process. So if you wished to enroll in a benefits management course, you could take that material and add that to your SWOT analysis as well. So there's lots of good stuff on value, but the problem is, and especially as PMI PMI defines value so loosely. Let me just get the definition of value that they use. It's a really loose definition of value. Ping. Bear with me a second. here we go. In fact, I'm going to pop it. Let's just come across here. So, value, the worth, importance, or usefulness of something. That's value. So how do you manage value? You can't. Now, you can define value in financial terms. It's really difficult to get a real handle on it, but if I remember the right way round, PMI defines value, I think, as the difference between benefit and cost. So you get positive value if benefit exceeds cost. In the UK, the APM defines it as the ratio, and I may have those the opposite way around. That is to say, it's benefit divided by cost, which means if cost is lower than benefit, you get a benefit of greater than 1, and if you've got a cost that exceeds benefit, you get a benefit of less than 1. Both of which are perfectly legitimate numerical measures of value. The problem, of course, is that those are different numerical measures of value that work in different ways. They don't just give different numbers, but they, as the difference between benefit and cost changes, the numbers you get change radically differently. So this is a very important issue, and so as PMI quite rightly says, when we look at the tools that they use in the measurement domain, I think it is. In the measurement domain, they talk about value in terms of cost-benefit ratio. Okay, that's a measure of value, I suppose, which is defining value as benefit divided by cost. They don't talk about value as the difference. Does that mean I got it the wrong way around? I think it does. They talk about net present value, which is the discounted cash flow method, which is arguably the most sophisticated method. And they also talk about what a lot of finance directors and CFOs, finance directors in UK, CFOs in the US, use, which is return on investment, ROI, which combines kind of the ratio thing and the difference thing, because the return on investment is benefit minus cost, all divided by cost. So managing that is really difficult because you're fundamentally managing benefit and cost. So what I say is that this section really should have sections discussing cost and discussing benefits, and PMI has traditionally been very strong on cost management and very weak on benefit management. In fact, this is the first PMBOK guide that talks about benefits management, so hurrah for that. But you know what? Frankly, even the APM, my beloved APM, who has such brilliant materials, doesn't really talk about benefits management. Now, PMI, and I need to make clear, PMI and APM both have benefits management books that you can buy. I don't think I've got either of them, actually. They are monumentally expensive. I should buy them, really. But there we go. So, my take is that as project managers, we need to understand benefits management. So let's go back to here, and this is where I'm going to kind of advertise the fact that I am offering 30% off my benefits management course. And if you go back a couple of years, when I launched the course, I did a couple of videos and talked about the fact that now, if you are a project manager, I think it's still the case, who knows about benefits management and knows the methodology and deploy benefits management, you will be at an advantage in a competitive recruitment market, because not many project managers know about this. On the other hand, if you are in 10 years' time a project manager who doesn't know about this stuff, then you will be distinctive, I suspect, in the recruitment market by being one of the few who doesn't. So at the moment, it is more than a nice to have. It is a career differentiator and probably a salary multiplier. But I think in 10 years' time, it will be the cost of doing business and will be a necessary thing. So I am posting into the chat a link that will get you allow you to buy the benefits management course at 30% off. So if you don't know about benefits management and you think it could be something of value to you, do take a look at what's in that course. It is my best selling course apart from the core courses, actually sells as fast as the core courses do now since I've launched it, and I'm very proud of it. And from time to time I make updates, so there is an update there that talks about PMI's concept of value in Pinbox 7, so I'm going to really advocate strongly for that. And the case for why benefits management should be in Pinbox 7 is, firstly, Pinbox 7 has an emphasis on value. Secondly, value is all about benefits and cost, and it talks about cost, not so much as I'd like. Both cost and benefits are missing from the delivery performance domain, and they should be there. So that's that. Where are we? Where's my mouse gone? So it's time in a moment for my 3-2-1 project delivery domain, my 3 best tips, my 2 best tools, and my 1 best insight. But let's come back and see what we've got in the chat, because I think some stuff has come up. So Nicholas says, bone curve does not apply to organizational change. Absolutely not. It's a screwdriver when you need a penknife or a wrench, which is what I'm doing. There is no 150x in organizational change anywhere. Maximum of 5 to 10 in delivery versus planning, I'd say. Yeah, I mean, organizational change is slow and it's subtle, and it takes time for it to click in. And so, yeah, subtle changes in direction are a problem because they do cause confusion and set people backwards along the change curve. But I'm not I've done a lot of change work, but I'm not a dedicated change practitioner. So but your kind of finger in the air estimate of 5 to 10 times cost of change feels, a reasonable estimate to me. It accords with my experience, so I like that. So yes, bone curve probably depends on the kind of project, but the projects I'm doing, at least, yeah, absolutely. The things you're doing, Nicholas, is a million miles away from software engineering, and I hope, unlike this presumption in BOEM, which is way out of date, is that you'll be selecting a delivery methodology and a change management approach and a project management approach for your change that is well tailored and well designed for this situation. And I suppose one thing that occurs to me is, of course, is that an important part of life cycle selection and tailoring has to be to think about the extent to which you can anticipate that there will be change, and therefore how do you minimize the cost of that change whilst also optimizing for other things as well. But it is one of the things you want to optimize for, is really keeping cost of change down to keep your flexibility up. And of course, that's, again, why do we have agile methods like Scrum? It's because if we want to keep the cost of change down but keep our flexibility up, then we don't do a waterfall life cycle. We do not use predictive project management for an internet startup. It would be bonkers, because you'd have massive costs of change. Right. Nicholas then says, I said this on many of your live streams every time I had the opportunity. I think the course is the most interesting I've taken. I encourage everyone to take this course. Yeah, you're not getting a commission though. Actually, maybe talk to me if you want to spend some effort promoting my courses, because if you want to be an affiliate, you are welcome to be. In fact, anyone who's a regular who thinks that you have an audience of your own, and whether that's a real world audience because you could perhaps sell courses to your real world clients, or if you have an audience online, you're a YouTuber, or you've got a big Twitter following, or you have your own blog, and you think you could potentially sell my stuff, I do offer very, very attractive affiliate terms, so get in touch with me directly. Keen says, got to drop off, but thank you, Mike. Great stream as always. My pleasure. Do feel free to come back and just watch the back end and not the front end to get the tips, Keen. So I think we're up to date with chat, but if anyone's got any questions, as I'm sure lots of you know, I welcome questions. I love dealing with questions, even when I kind of faff around and don't have a good answer as at the start, as I did for February. I have no real audience. Talk to you about that in a few years. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no point in signing up for stuff that's going to just distract you from doing what matters. And I know Nicholas has got a lot of things that matter on his agenda. And how do I know that? I know that because Nicholas is one of my partner members on the channel. So I have 3 membership tiers: friend, partner, and leader. The leader tier is all about one-to-one coaching, and brutally honest, no one has signed up for that at the moment. The partner tier is a tier where we get together once a month on Zoom and we talk about a topic of interest to the partners. We help partners out one-to-one with issues they've got, and that works really nicely. It's a small group, which is great, but it has certainly got capacity for 2 or 3 more souls to lift it up further without overburdening it with people. So if you fancy that, do have a look at that. You can get access to it on my website. In fact, it's on the home page of my website. There's a link to it, so let's just go there and show you that link. Come on, mouse. I want to figure out why this doesn't work properly. Browser window, there we go. So if I scroll down, if you just go to the home page, come on, where are you, mouse? There you are. If you scroll down, you'll see a link to the membership stuff, and you can get all the details that you need there to the membership program. And of course, if you're at a friend level, you get a few little bits and pieces, but it's mainly a way of buying me a coffee and saying thank you. But if you join annually, you will get copies of all of the set of 8 ebooks on the project performance domains. So that's the bonus for the annual membership, as well as the fact that the annual membership is cheaper than paying monthly if you're going to stay for a year. Oh, Earth PM! Wow, haven't seen you on there. So Earth PM is that's Rich, isn't it? It is Rich. I hope it's Rich. Otherwise, I'm going to embarrass myself. I think Earth PM is Rich. Rich Morksman. If you are, hi and welcome. If you're not, hi and welcome, and I'm sorry. I'm going to have to wait because of lag to find out whether I've embarrassed myself. Anyway, so do consider joining at friend level if you want to support the channel and get access to the free ebooks, the ebooks much more cheaply than buying them all. And the partner level if you like some one-to-one interaction and have questions that you want to discuss with me and some other like-minded souls. Right, let's battle with my... what about benefits at program level? What about benefits at program level, says Hamburg Gumbo. Okay, I think you're not talking there, not about the benefits of the membership program, but benefits management at program level. So, I've just clicked the wrong thing. So, bit of history for everyone. Apologies if you're aware of this, but benefits management was a program level discipline back in the 90s, and I would say for most of the 20s, most of the 2000s. So in program management, we developed this benefits management process, and when I say we developed it, when I was at Deloitte, I was in the team that was actually developing the thinking for the program leadership team at Deloitte on how we would do benefits management and rolling it out and training it. And it was the same time that I suppose most notably the then Office for Government Commerce was developing the benefits management part of MSP, Managing Successful Programs. So at the time, it was this version of it. I don't have the most up-to-date one because, again, these things cost about 70 quid each. $80, $90 each. But this is the one before. And so the OGC and then Axelos, who took over, OGC developed their own benefits management stuff. Academics were thinking about it. What I did in, I would say probably starting around about 2006, 2007, was I started offering live training to project managers in benefits management. And I started to adapt the program management approach to projects, which I have to say is largely around bringing it to a more granular level and also changing terminology. The changes aren't huge. And I was delivering training to project managers for a number of years. When I started online PM courses, I kind of wanted to bring that training to online PM courses because I had an inkling that it would be valuable. And I increasingly felt that not only would it be valuable, but I wanted to be leading the conversation. I wanted to get there. I knew that the time was ripe, and I wanted to get there before anyone else did. And so I brought out the course. I was developing it 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Can't remember quite when it came out. So I guess my answer, and you can tell that Hambo's British because he spells program right. Unlike me, in all my materials, I spell it the American way with the single M. So I would say if you are a program manager and you are delivering program level services or portfolio level services, it won't be a big stretch to apply the ideas in my methodology and my training to program level, because all you're doing is kind of expanding them outwards and making and working at a bigger scale, because all I did was take that big scale and scrunch inwards and work at a smaller scale. So that's kind of my answer to you. So benefits management program scale. No more questions. So I'm going to go. I haven't had anything from Earth PM, so I'm worried that that's not rich, and I've embarrassed myself. Sorry, Earth PM. But I like the name. It's we need that kind of environmental thing. I need to check out your channel as well. So I'm going to make a note, because if you've got a channel, I should be interested to see what you post. Right, so we're going to go across now to my 3 best tips, 2 best tools, and 1 best insight. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave that up because that's a fairly tedious slide, but just as a kind of placeholder. It helps, by the way, YouTube to kind of figure out where the chapter markers should be if I don't get around to putting chapter markers on the descriptions. So, 3 best tips. First, this is one I think is a fundamental truth rather than a tip, but it's a tip in the sense that it should prepare you for reality. And that is that the requirements gathering, the scoping stage of a project or activity of a project, or however you want to describe it, is the hardest part of project management. If you think about it, you've got a whole bunch of users, you've got a whole bunch of stakeholders, and they all want different aspects of what the project is about. They all have different priorities, they all have different needs, they all have different preferences. And so you have a bunch of stakeholders who want different cuts of the same thing, sometimes very different things. And you have to reconcile all of that. If you had an unlimited budget with unlimited resources and an infinite amount of time, that would be trivial. You would just work your way through delivering everything anyone wants, and everybody would be happy. In reality, amongst those stakeholders, some will want things that are generally more and genuinely more important or more relevant to the core mission of the project. And so you need to make sure you prioritize those. But there's also the politics of it, which says that some stakeholders and some users and some customers will have, for want of a better word, greater valence. That is, I don't want to use the word value. I don't want to say that one person is more valuable than another, or even that one person is more important than another. But in terms of status, hierarchy, loudness of voice, legitimacy of need, urgency of requirement, all of those things combine to what we might call valence, some sort of measure of how we should prioritise their needs against other people's needs, all other things being equal, which they never are. So you've got all of these things to balance and juggle. And quite often people do say, how do you do that? How do you balance and juggle those? Now, a simple answer is to say, well, look, it's your job to make the decisions about how you prioritise them, but I don't actually think that's true. I don't think as a project manager it is our job to decide what we are going to deliver, because it's the customer, the client, the users, the stakeholders who are going to be living with it, using it, benefiting from it. So it should be they who do the prioritisation. So that means that our job becomes one of facilitating that process of discussion. And if it gets really acrimonious, that might be shuttle diplomacy and mediation. But ideally, you get them all into the same room to discuss amongst themselves, and you facilitate the conversation. You make sure good notes are kept. You make sure that decisions are recorded and checked with the group. In the real world these days, we don't necessarily mean in the same physical room. We mean in the same mental space. So we can use Zoom, Teams, Blue Jeans, whatever technology to get people together. And that's where tools like Miro and its competitors. I'm a bit of a Miro fan. My wife uses another one, and I can't remember what it is now, with one of her clients, and it's going to bother me. But anyway, we use those tools to help facilitate those discussions. And Zoom has a whiteboard functionality, and Teams has a whiteboard functionality, and frankly, they are inadequate for the purpose. So you need to find something else. Creately, by the way, is another great tool, which actually is kind of like Miro and Zoom crushed into one tool. So you've got a Miro board with Zoom built it with a video conferencing built in. So that's quite a good tool as well. But I don't know it as well as I know Miro. So get your people together and facilitate the conversation. That's where things like Kiev or analysis, or if Moscow analysis, if you must, come to play. Secondly, it is time. Mural. Well done, Patrick. Yes, that's the one my wife's using. So I want to say murally or murally, and I knew in my head that I was just remembering the name of the author. We talked about this in a previous live stream, I think, of the new dynamic of portfolio management, whose name is Murali Kulatumani. So I was trying not to misuse his name, but you're right, it is Mural, of course. Mural and Miro are two separate tools, two different tools. I've never used Mural, although my wife is going to introduce me to it this week as it happens. I have used Miro, and Miro is brilliant. I'm sure Mural is just as good, but don't know. Your mileage may differ, of course. So, second tip, it's time to take quality management seriously. I'm not going to really say very much about this, but I've done videos on it. It is one of those topics that most project managers fight shy of, in my experience. Oh, I don't know much about quality management, and we'll just do our stuff and we'll deliver the deliverables and things. Now, software engineers, of course, all know all about testing, and that's their principal process of quality management. The idea of component tests and system tests and integration tests and acceptance tests, user tests and then user acceptance tests. Oh, well done, Patrick. Got it on my recommendation. I hope you got it with my affiliate link. Just joking. It's a nice book. Morale will be pleased. Yeah, so software engineers, they love, most of them probably hate it, but they know well about testing and therefore that aspect of quality management. But most project managers, we feel we don't know what it is. Funnily enough, in kind of working through, looking through my backlog, I became aware that one of the videos I want to make for next year is how to build a quality plan, because I think that would be a really good, compelling video for people. Compelling in the sense that it provides information that's valuable. So I'm hoping to do that for next year. And my third best tip. So the first one was about scoping being the hardest part of project management. Second is about taking quality management seriously. The third is the one I promised. Let me lubricate my throat. Stakeholder satisfaction. Now, let me quote you something from. So the delivery performance domain, one of the desired outcomes is that stakeholders accept and are satisfied with project deliverables. Well, that's really good. That's really important. I mean, why wouldn't you have that as an outcome? I would, so I'm happy with that. Then we look at the back of the domain description, and there's their usual checking results table where they've got outcomes and checks, most of which across the whole of the 8 domains, and probably an average of about 5 outcomes each, so that's probably about 40 of these checks. I would say the clear majority of those 40 I don't think are particularly good. So stakeholders accept and are satisfied with project deliverables. So the check is interviews, observation, end user feedback indicate the stakeholder satisfaction with deliverables. Great. Levels of complaints and returns can also be used to indicate satisfaction. This, I have to say, is the best of the 5 checks in this domain, and it is one of possibly even the best check across all domains. They do really well. But how do you get stakeholders to accept and be satisfied with project deliverables? Most people think that if you build it, they will like it. That is, say, you understand what they want, you build what they want, you give it to them, and they will be happy. My tip is that stakeholder satisfaction does not come from the products and services you create. Stakeholder satisfaction does not come from the products and services you create. It comes from your relationship with your stakeholders. It comes from the environment of respect and legitimacy you create as you are understanding their needs, respecting their needs, respecting them when you can't deliver all of their requirements, all of their preferences, because you won't. Because scoping is the hardest part. You're going to have to disappoint some stakeholders. So how do you get them to be satisfied? You have to treat them like adults. You have to negotiate with them and let them know, and you have to respect them, and you have to build a legitimacy for yourself and your planned set of deliverables, so that when you drop the deliverables on your stakeholders, on your users, on your customers, they are now getting what they expected to get and what they have negotiated to feel you've negotiated with them, so they feel they are appropriate. So stakeholder satisfaction is all about the relationship you build with your stakeholders. And again, it is a cliche that project management is 80% communication. I think it's becoming a cliche. What I say is that stakeholder engagement is how sophisticated adults manage projects. But this is another reason why. Because if you do not engage well with your stakeholders, if you don't build that sense that you are listening to them and that you understand their needs and their disappointments, and that you communicate with them where you are and what's happening and what you're delivering and what you're not delivering and when things are coming and why things are delayed and why things have been put back, if you can get that communication right, then your stakeholders will be ready to accept what you deliver. They may not, interestingly, ever feel that it's what they really wanted, but if your communication is good, they will accept it, recognizing that their compromises have had to be made organizationally. So those are my 3 best tips. What then are my 2 best tools? First is a quality assurance plan. How are you going to create a process of making sure you deliver to specification and to your quality design? And as I say, I'm hoping to make a video about that. That's my first best tool. And my second best tool is a benefits realization plan. Yes, it's another clumsy, heavy-handed plug for my benefits management course, but a benefits realization plan, which might include things like a benefits traceability matrix and benefits maps and all the tools that you can throw at it, but the tool that is the best one is the benefits realization plan, because that actually tells you how you are going to realize the benefits of the project. If you manage the cost and actually deliver to cost using earned value management, possibly. Not a big fan of EVM in the real world, but for big, complex, predictive projects, it has a real value. You deliver to cost. If you then realise your benefits as well, then you'll de facto, per force, whatever, deliver your value. My best insight comes from this, and that's a first. I have to say, actually, this is the first time I've actually drawn my best insight directly from this. There's a lot of things in here that did make me go, I like that. That's nice. Including, I have to say, the moving targets section of the deliverables bit here, and the idea of suboptimal outcomes. Love that. But my one insight I got from this is the idea, the concept of done drift. As I say, it's not something that I didn't know about. It's something I didn't have a label for, and of course when you give something a label, it gets reality. And done drift is the idea that the definition of done, or the goal of your project, or however you want to articulate it, moves over time. Requirements shift as you go through, and this isn't scope creep. So I think of scope creep as being, we want more stuff, we want more things. Possibly we want more functionality to things we've got, so there's an overlap here. But if the actual detail of the requirements shifts over time, so that effectively you deliver what you consider to be done, but then someone says, well, actually, that's not quite right. We kind of need a slightly different quality. We need a slightly different, maybe the interface. We just need to change the interface a bit because we've now changed our minds, whatever. That's not a change of scope, but it is a change of the definition of what done looks like, what the quality standard is, or whatever. And that is the idea of done drift. So it tends to be, so in my mind, done drift is around standards rather than scope. And then whether that's quality standards or details of functionality. And so I think that's one of the reasons why short cycle. Oh, look, the cat has decided it's time to say hello to you. No, say hello to them. Say hello to them. I'm sure he's a bit disappointed because his nominal owner, my daughter, is away at the moment. So this is project management cat. Hey, project management cat. He's a very affectionate cat. So the idea of done drift, I think, is fantastic. We can now, we've got a name for it. We can take that label and we can expand on what we understand by it. We can talk about it, or we can then put steps in place to manage it. So there we go. We are coming up to the hour and a half, the 90 minutes. Got through everything I planned to say. Answered a couple of questions. The influential PMO likes the idea of done drift, so that's good. Any questions or any comments or observations while I just check the date of the next live stream for you? You know, of course, that it's going to be the first Tuesday in September. Gosh, that'll be the end of the summer holidays for most of us. That's the 6th of September, because the August ends on Wednesday. So yeah, the 6th of September, and we'll be looking at the measurement domain, which doesn't sound sexy, but I think it is the best domain that is in here. I think there's lots to really like about it, so I'll be looking forward to that. Anything from anyone before I say goodbye and wish you well for August? A lot of people, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere, and I think we're all in the Northern Hemisphere, have our holidays in August. I've got mine coming up. So if you haven't had your holiday yet, and you are due to have one soon, hope it's a good one. Hope you're going to enjoy it. Oh, the microphone's getting in the way. It's not supposed to be there. There we go. Hope you'll enjoy that. Anything else from anyone else? thank you all very much for attending. It continues to amaze me that what have we got? We kind of peaked near 20 people. It's not a huge live stream like some people do, have hundreds, thousands of people on live stream, but it still staggers me that 20 people want to sit and listen to me wibble on for an hour and a half. So anything I can do to make it more interesting for you, to answer your questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you all very much. I shall let you get back to the rest of your day, your afternoon, your evening, and I will see you, I hope, next time if I haven't bored you. Oh, don't forget, like and subscribe, and add a comment after this. After the live stream closes, you can add a comment, which would be doing me a great favour. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Oh, cat, you're in the way of me turning it off. Mike Clayton out.